Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. I was going to say good evening, brothers and sisters. And the reason why thank God I didn't, well, not thank God I didn't say that, because I have a Marco Polo app and I have a few people that's brothers and sisters, that's Christians. And then we give each other Bible verses, we pray with one another, we give our testimonies. I'm so used to saying that during the day, during the evening as well. Now I'm hopping on to my channel and I'm saying good evening, everyone, and I hope everyone is doing well. So I am live and doing my first book club, which I'm super excited, nervous at the same time because this is my first time ever doing this. So just give me grace and just bear with me because I'm doing this for the first time, which I'm super excited and I'm nervous as well. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm just going to do my best and see how it goes. And if it sucks, it sucks. At least, I gave it my all. I gave it my all. Now, as you know, what I spoke about yesterday, that about Virginia Roberts Giuffre, that her book came out and she's telling her story. She's telling what happened to her, as a young little girl, from her childhood, from her being homeless, from her, being sexually abused by a family member and a friend as well. Stuff that she been through in her life, and that's all she knew, that's all she known, excuse me. And now, she had the bravery, to stand up against the world most famous pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, and she advocated about that, and seeking justice and having other survivors, excuse me, also, stand up and tell their story as well. And unfortunately, this year, April 25th, she ended her life. People are saying that she committed suicide. I believe that she did not commit suicide. I don't believe that she would just leave her three young children behind. I believe that, this book was going to come out. People were aware of this book was coming out, and then they wanted to shut her up. They wanted to shut her up, and then it made it look like a suicide, in my opinion. However, there's no evidence to back up my claim or story, but she said it in her own words that if anything ever happens to me, I did not kill myself. I did not end my life. Her words, not mine. So that's why I believe that she wouldn't do that, because she fought so hard to stand up against Epstein, to stand up against Prince Andrew at the time, among high, powerful leaders in the world as well. Why would she stop? Why would she go through all that pain and suffering just to end her life because it got too hard, it got too tough? I don't buy it for a second. And I know some people don't buy it at all either. And while now that this book is out, people are speculating, who are these famous world famous leaders that were involved in Epstein's orbit and Epstein's world, and engaging having sex with underage girls for the last decade. And there's a few names, not in this book, but in her depositions and her lawsuits, a few names were listed. Like, for example, I can say Leonard Black, Bill Richardson, former U.S. Attorney George Mitchell. He was mentioned in the deposition and the lawsuit as well. Former Prime Minister Barack, which I'm going to show you. This is the gentleman that I was talking to you about last night, and former Prime Minister of Israel, not Israel, the Israelis, excuse me. He was mentioned in the deposition as well. And you can just tell by looking at him, he just looks really evil and perverted. And what Virginia mentioned when she was brutally sexually raped and choked, which I didn't even get to the chapter yet, but other people spoke about it. It was just very vile and very vulgar and it was just really bad. And just looking at him, he looks like an evil son of a an evil person that would do something like that to her and to other people as well. So, but yeah, that's the former prime minister of the Israelis, that his name's been mentioned a few times. And also, check this out from the New York Post. that mentioned Virginia Giuffre beaten, raped by a well-known prime minister, intact, attacked, that broken Epstein's spell. And her memoir reveals everything. You know what I mean? So names are coming out. You know what I mean? And like I said, names are coming out. Even through her death, you guys, people are going to be exposed. Now, whether they're going to prosecute these perverts, these pedophiles, I'm not sure. But at least names are coming out. And I won't be shocked or surprised when more evidence is going to come out. Things are going to leak, like tapes, videos, to corroborate what Virginia was saying in her book, among other things too. So I would not be surprised at all, you guys. I wouldn't be at all. So we're just going to wait and see. And like I keep mentioning, when things are hitting in the dark and when people constantly lie, things are going to be revealed. You can't stop it. You can't pay people off. Things are going to come out. The truth always wins. And I just don't understand why some people don't understand that. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how much money you pay off someone to keep your little dirty secret. The truth always reveals. It always does. And look what happened to former Prince Andrew. He's no longer a prince anymore, and he's done. He's a disgrace to his country. A disgrace. So he's finished and done. Epstein is dead. You know what I mean? Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years to life. Other men need to be held accountable for this, and they should. So, like I said, this book that I'm reading of Virginia, she's telling her own words what happened to her, and right now I am in chapter. Let's see. I'm in chapter 9, and it's called Tapping a Crooked Vein. So I just want to go back to chapter 4 and just talk about and just give you my inputs and my thoughts about this. Chapter 4, this title called Less Than Nothing. This was hard for me, and I mentioned this last night. This was hard for me to read because I'm a very visual person, and when I read or when things are explained to me, I have to do it myself in order to understand it, to grasp what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. So when I read this chapter, it took a lot of me because I had to put it down, and I cried, to be honest with you, because I put myself in her situation, what happened to her, and it's sickening. It broke my heart that it happened to her, and it shouldn't have happened to her. And it broke me. I cried, honestly. I did. And then I got myself together and I continued to read the chapter. So I highlighted a few points that really, I'm not going to say resonate with me because I had never been assaulted or raped by any family members. Not that I'm aware of, but no. But I highlighted like this stuff so I can talk about it. So this is chapter 4, Less Than Nothing. And she felt at that time that she was less than nothing because what has happened to her. So it says, she said, then during a bath time one night, my dad abruptly told me to stand up. We got to make sure you're extra clean. That's what he said. The command felt weird to me. I stayed submerged, the soap subs hiding my nakedness. I wasn't sure why I wasn't sure why I felt embarrassed, but I did. Can mom come in? I asked. No, mom's busy, Dad said, impatient. He had a washcloth in his hand. I stood up and he began to soap me all over, spending extra time between my legs. That night in my room, Dad touched me the way nobody had before. He told me I was his special girl, his favorite, and that this was his way of giving me extra love. Isn't that disgusting? Extra love. He used his finger at first, then days later his mouth. He called my private part my TT, and his penis his PP. It wasn't long before he asked if I wanted to touch his genitals. I didn't want to, but he wanted me to. He was my dad, so I did. I can't even imagine what she went through. You know what I mean? She was a little girl, and just feeling frightened, confused, like in her mind at the time, like, how can my father do this to me? How can my father think this is okay? And and it's, and in her mind, it was so inappropriate. But she was just so young. What can she have done? You know what I mean? She just went along with it because she even said that was my dad, that was my father. Even though in the back of her mind she knew that this what her father was doing was absolutely completely wrong and disgusting, which it was. And my this is the part when I had to take a step back and like, how can a father do that? How can and this is going on in homes all over, you know what I mean? Different homes. And I just don't understand how can another human being, a father, can do that to their own child and make it seem like that's okay because they're so twisted and demonic because they feel like they had the need to do that to their own flesh and blood. Just didn't make any sense to me. It was just heartbreaking that she had to go through that. Also, she said, I was confused. Why was mom mad at me? Didn't she know what dad was doing to me? I had a distinctive memory of my bedroom door opening slightly one night as dad molested me. I heard that squeaking sound again. Was that mom? Or did I just desperately want it to be her? I didn't see her face. She could have been dad under the covers with me. The door slowly closed again. I began I began to get painful urinator tract infections. Mom took me to the door, excuse me, to the doctor again and again. After the examination, a doctor told my mom that my hemorrhoid has been broken. Mother didn't Mother didn't hesitate. Or, oh, she rides horses bareback, she explained. That was the end of that. I didn't even know what a hammock was. I think it's part of the bone. Again, I'm not a doctor or a nurse. It's a part of a bone, but obviously when the father was, doing what he was doing to her, she was getting a lot of pain, a lot of urinary tract infections and stuff like that. And it's just crazy. And I believe the mother knew. The mother had to know. You know what I mean? Like, how can you be so nonchalant and just not know what your husband is doing to your own daughter? She had to know. She knew what was happening, and she did nothing. Like, how can a mother do that? How can a mother allow her husband to molest her own daughter and be okay with it, and then put the blame on the daughter like it was the daughter's fault? The daughter didn't ask for this. She didn't even know what sex was. It was your sick, twisted husband who did this to her. And the mother just went by like nothing didn't happen. Like we're just going by our life, our business. Nothing to see. There's nothing there. It's just sickening and cruel. Now I just want to go back to chapter 2, growing together. She went to some type of facility, and it seemed like a facility for troubled teenagers. And she was there, and she described the building as a banana yellow building south of West Palm Beach, town called Florida, called Lake Worth. And it's so funny that she mentioned Lake Worth because I used to live in Lake Worth since I was 8 years old up upon until I left my parents' house when I was 26. And it's so funny because she mentioned Lochahatchee, she mentioned Lake Worth, Palm Beach, and I used to live, West Palm Beach, Florida. And it's just so funny that she mentioned certain names of the places that she was, and it just took me back to my childhood. That I can still remember until this day where I lived from the age 8 until I moved out when I was 26. I lived in 1106 South D Street, Lake Worth, Florida, and I don't remember the zip code. But it just when she said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, Lake Worth. That's where me and my sisters and my parents used to live, Loxahatchee. I knew friends there that lived there, and then we all hanged out there at some point. And then it just really brought me back to that, and how her life was just so complicated and hard. And she really had a hard life, you guys. As you read this book, she really had a hard life. Nothing came easy to her. Nothing was easy for her. All she knew was just being raped, being molested, being sex trafficking, being passed around like she was some piece of meat, that she was not a human being. That's all she knew. When all she wanted is to feel love, to be protected by her family, you know what I mean, by her mother, by her father. And she ran away a lot. She went into different homes, came back to her home, but ran away again. Like, she really had a really rough childhood. Not in the beginning, because I mentioned in the book, not at first, but it started later on when things hit the fan. Things got really bad. And then, as soon as she started being a teenager, she started to rebel. She dropped out of not high school. Her last education, I believe, grade 9. I believe the age, not age 9, but grade. She was the 9th grade, and smoking, drinking, rebelling. You know what I mean? And who can blame her? You know what I mean? Who can blame her? She really had a hard life, a tough life. But eventually, she got her life together. And she was a advocate for sexual abuse of women, and she advocated for that. She really did, and I commend her for that. And even though by death her voice is still being heard, her book is out, like I said, and people are talking about it because this is not going to go away. I know a lot of people wanted to go away. The DOJ. Trump, President Trump, the Democrats, the Republicans, they wanted to go away like it never exists, but it did exist, because you had young girls that were sexually abused by powerful world leader men. And I just don't understand how anyone can think that that's okay. I don't know how anyone can think that that's okay, and it's not. Look at this clipping before I continue on reading a few chapters. This was her at 17 in London. And this is former Prince Andrew, and as you can see, Ghislaine Maxwell. 17. Okay? And you can see the flash, the reflection of the flash in that window. That was Jeffrey Epstein who took it. Who else could have been? That was Jeffrey Epstein who took the picture of the three of them. So can you imagine 17 in London and you being manipulated by these two devils, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, and imagine telling a 17-year-old, if you don't do this, if you don't sleep with this man, or else. You know what I mean? They already knew that she was broken, and it says it in the chapter, which I'm going to read to you. They knew that she was broken. She came from a broken home. She was a runaway. She did, drugs and everything. They knew that. They knew what to do to manipulate her, to make her do their bidding. They knew that. They knew how to brainwash her, and they did that. And then she was, sex trafficking with. She was sex trafficking with Andrew for 3 times. 3 times she had sex with him, and he has no recollection of him being there, even though his photo. That's an authentic photo, according to Virginia and other people too. That's the original photo, but he has no memory of being there. He said that's him, but he don't remember. Like, get serious. It's you, but you don't remember being there. He remembers. He knows that he was there. He knew what he was doing. He knew, and he got caught by lying, among other things. What else I want to share with you about this book? That okay, so this one I want to chapter 7, A Ghost Come Back. So this I said ninth grade. Well, yeah, ninth grade. So high school, because ninth grade is in high school. So you've got 9th, 10th, 11, and 12th. So I was right. So excuse me. So it goes come back, and this chapter she mentioned Virginia. I was in high school. I was a high school dropout. I had a boyfriend I lived with, but didn't want a future with. I was damaged in more ways than I ever knew, and I was a long way from getting the help I needed to repair myself. And no one didn't give her help. No one didn't give her the help and the tools that she needed, which is so sad. Um, in the summer of 2000, my father, then a maintenance man at Donald Trump Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, got me a job there as a $9 an hour locker room attendee. Excuse me. I can still remember walking onto the manicure grounds of Mar-a-Lago for the first time. It was an early morning. My dad's shift began at 7 a.m., and I had caught a ride to work with him. Already, air was heavy and moist, and the club's 20 acres of carefully landscaped greens and lawns seemed to shimmer. To look at the beachfront side, that Mar-a-Lago occupants, you never suspect that before the original estate was built in the 1920s. Then she mentioned, then he mentioned because the father wanted to introduce her daughter to Donald Trump. And the father said, "This is my daughter." Dad said, and his voice sounded proud. Trump couldn't have been friendlier, telling me it was fantastic that I was here. Excuse me, that I was there. "Do you like kids?" he asked. "Do you babysit at all?" He explained that he owns several houses next to the resort that he lends to friends, many of whom have children who needed tending. I said yes. I have babysat before. The fact that the last time I have done so, I've been she said she'd been attempted to entertain the kids in my care, but she didn't mention that. So I guess she didn't really babysit other kids in the past, but she failed to mention that to Trump, which that was a good thing. So she mentioned that to him, and then what else she said? Da, da, da. Then that's how she met Ghislaine Maxwell. So she said, where was I? Sorry, you guys. Okay. Do-do-do-do-do. Okay, then one steam hot day, some weeks before my 17th birthday, I was walking towards the Mar-a-Lago spa. On my way to work, then a car slowed behind me. I wish I could say that I sensed something evil was tracking me, but as I headed to the building, I had no inkling of the danger I was in. In the car, I didn't see were two people. I had not yet met a British socialite named Ghislaine Maxwell and her driver, Juan Esal, who she instantly on calling John would later testify under oath that on this day when Maxwell spotted me, my long blonde hair, my slim built, and what he called my young appearance, he commanded him from the back seat and "Stop, John, stop." Then John did as he was told, and Maxwell got out and followed after me. I didn't know yet, but once again, a predator was closing in. This one, however, would prove different from any I have met before, like my father, Foster, or Ron, or other men had given me away too. This was an extra. This was a predator, as greedy and demanding on the inside as he appeared to be beautiful, posed, and self-assured on the outside. Again, I wish I could say that I saw through Maxwell' polished like a like a horse. And I muted the threat she posed to me. Instead of my first impression of Maxwell was the same one I formed when I greeted any well-heeled Margot Logo guest. I have been lucky. I thought that I could grow up to be anything like her. And part two is the prisoner. And part two is a prisoner, and it's the pink house. Now, this is the infamous pink house that Jeffrey Epstein lived in Palm Beach, and there were pictures of naked girls. Um, and she thought it was very weird, but she didn't think nothing of it because, again, she was young. And this part that I want to read to you, because I don't want to read all the paragraph. I highlighted some things that stand out to me, that Ghislaine Maxwell knew what she was doing. She was preying on Virginia and asking her, because she saw Virginia reading a massage book, and then she asked Virginia, "Are you a therapist?" She said, "No, I want to learn to be a therapist and be a masseuse." And that was Ghislaine's Maxwell opportunity to say, "Well, I have a friend of mine that who needs a masseuse, and he will pay you good money for it. He will pay you some good money." And this is what I'm going to read to how she lured Virginia in. Maxwell said she knows a wealthy man, a long-time Margot member. She says, who is looking for a massage therapist to travel with them. Do you do massages on the side? She asks. Oh no, I reply, worrying I would give her the wrong impression. I'm not trained, but I hope to learn someday. My lack of experience doesn't concern her a bit. I'm sure you'd be terrific. She instantly looking me up and down. Will you come for an interview? I glaze at my library book, and with the illustration of the muscles and tenderness. I don't think I know the body well enough yet. I protest. But Maxwell shakes her head. What's important, she says, in my desire to learn. If I impress her friend, if I impress her friend, she says he will be happy to pay to get me trained. He is a mathematician, a genius with a smack of making money. He loves to help people, she says, adding that the rich gentleman house is right here in Palm Beach, less than 2 miles from Lago, excuse me. Can't even speak half the time. Come meet him, she said, her pretty face glowing. Come tonight after work. Even today, more than 20 years later, I remember how excited I felt. Could my dreams of becoming a professional masseuse be on their way to coming true so quickly? Some things about how this proper, well-spoken lady forced on me made it seem possible. I told her I had to get permission from my dad first because she was 17 at the time, but that I really wanted to come. So, as she instructed, I wrote down her phone number and her rich friend's address, which is 358 L Barrow Way. See you later, I hope, Maxwell said, waving her right hand by twisting it slightly at the wrist. Then she was gone. The next break I got, I ran to the tennis court to tell my father I was in the running of a potential life-changing opportunity. He said he could drive me over after work. I used the phone at the spa front desk to call Maxwell and let her know we're on our way. Great, she said. See you soon. A few hours later, Daddy gave me a lift up to South Ocean Avenue to El Barrow Way, a short henge leaning pour of a road that dead ends into the Palm Beach Intercoast waterway. The drive took 5 minutes and we didn't talk much. No one ever had to explain to my father the importance of making a buck. When we arrived at the high wall in front of 358, the last house on the left before we hit the water, Dad pushed a buzzer and spoke into the intercom. A security gate rolled open. Excuse me. We eased into the driveway line and palm trees found over ourselves. Excuse me, palm trees and found ourselves in the front of sprawling two-story, six-bedroom mansion and countless TV documentaries. This house has been painted a tasteful white as it was years later. But in the summer of 2000, the home was to was a pink. Excuse me. I was going to say something else, but never mind. Pink, the color of a pit bull Bismo. Ugh. Anyway, eager to be punctual, I jumped out of the car before my dad could turn off the engine, walked to the big wooden front door and rang the doorbell. Maxwell answered and came outside. The door still open behind her. She shook my father's hand. Thank you so very much for dropping her off. She told Dad, all smiles, but then in retrospect, she seems impatient for him to leave. She wanted him to leave. Well, get Jenny home safe, she said, practically can't even speak, practically shooting him back into the truck. Then she turned and ushered me into an elegant foyer with a spiral staircase and a huge star-shaped chandelier. Jeffy has been waiting to meet you, she said, starting up the stairs. Come. Walking behind her, I tried not to stare at the walls, which were crowded with photos and paintings of nude women. Maybe this was how wealthy people with sophisticated taste decor their homes. Be cool, I thought. Don't let her see how nervous you are. I fixed my eyes on the stairs, which were covered in pink blush carpet. When we reached the second floor landing, Maxwell turned right and led me into the bedroom. We made a U-turn around a king-size bed, then entered an adjoining room with a turquoise green massage table. A naked man lay face down on the top of it, his head resting on his folded arms. But when he heard us enter, he lifted up slightly to look around at me. I remember his bushy eyebrows and deep lines in his face as he grinned, like the Casimir cat smile. Say hello to Mr. Epstein. Excuse me. Say hello to Jeffrey Epstein, Maxwell introduced. But before I could do so, the man spoke to me. You can just call me Jeffrey. I nodded at the gray-haired stranger as he laid back down. He was 47 years old, nearly 3 times older than me. Ugh, disgusting. But anyway, gotta be professional while reading. Faced with Epstein's bare backside, I looked to Maxwell for guidance. I'd never gotten a massage before, left alone giving one. But still, I thought, isn't he supposed to be under a sheet? Maxwell Blatt's expression indicated that nudity was normal. Calm down. I told myself, don't blow this chance. I wanted to be a good student. Palm Beach was just 16 miles from Lochahatchee. But excuse me. But where was I? Sorry. But the economic divide made it seem way farther. I needed to learn how rich people do things. Besides, while the man was on the table, was nude, it is not like I was alone with him. The fact that a woman was with me made me breathe easier. Fake it until you make it, I thought, as I tried to project a can-do energy. Maxwell took the lead. First, you must wash your hands, she said. Hot water. She pointed towards a white marble tilt bathroom, completely with a sauna and steam shower, where I did as she asks. Then she begins the lesson. Giving When giving a massage, she said, I should keep one palm on the client's skin at all times, so as never to startle him. Continue and flow, Continually and flow are key, she explained. She turned to a dresser linen with a bottle pumped with lotion into both our hands and showed me how to keep an extra glob of the stuff on my forearm so I could reload without interrupting, the rhythm. She then positioned us at Epstein's feet on either side of the table and rubbing her hands together swiftly before placing them on the toes of his right foot. She nodded for me to do the same on his left. Just do what I do, she said. She started on his heels and arches, then moved up his body. Don't pull his leg hair, Maxwell cautioned me, explaining that our goal was to circulate the blood by firmly pushing it up his calves. I paid close attention, mimicking her as we moved higher to Epstein's thighs. When we got to his buttocks, I tried to glance past them, landing his low back, but Maxwell put her hands on top of mine and guided them to his rear. It is important that you don't ignore any parts of the body, she said. If you skip around, the blood won't flow right. Isn't that something what she said? She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was doing. Only later would I see how step by practice step the two of them were breaking down my defenses. Every time I felt a twig of discomfort, one glance at Maxwell told me I was overreacting. And so it went from about half an hour, a seemingly legit massage lesson. As Maxwell encouraged me, you're getting the hang of it. Epstein asked me a question. Do you have siblings? I told him that excuse me. I said, two brothers, I said. Where do you go to high school? I told him I quit after ninth grade, but I was only 16. I hope to get my GED. Do you have a boyfriend? And she's thinking in her mind, what kind of interview is this? Why are you asking me all these personal questions? Like, do I have a boyfriend? Which is typically a normal, but still, it's just weird. My thing is, okay, before I continue, and I just thought about this. Your daughter is 17 years old, okay? Your daughter told you're going to a job interview. A man, to go see a man that you haven't met, never met. A woman you never met, and you just drop your 17-year-old daughter to a mansion, and you just took off. I don't understand it. Anyone, please tell me, anyone who would have done that, just drop your 17-year-old daughter to a random house, a man that you never met, and you met Glenn Maxwell and say hello and then goodbye. I don't get that. That's just mind-boggling to me. Never in my freaking mind I would leave my child anywhere without me being there. And if they don't like it, kick rocks. To me, that's that. If someone says, no, Cheryl, we got this. You don't need to be with your son or daughter. I'm like, oh, yeah? Goodbye. I would take my kid and leave. Because that's just crazy to me that you would tell a parent that an adult should not be there. And on top of that, doing an interview in someone's house, that's just weird. I'm just so not surprised. The father is just so oblivious to it that he thought that was okay. Your daughter's being interviewed at another man's mansion. And it was probably nighttime at the time. Make it make sense. That's not normal. Anyway, continuing on. Epstein asked Virginia, do you have a boyfriend? I said, I live with an older boy in a trailer on my parents' land. Do you take birth control? That's what Jeffrey asked her. Epstein asked, what Do you take birth control? Epstein asked. Was that a weird question in a job interview? Yes, it was. Yes, it is. Excuse me. Weird. Epstein indicated this was just a way of getting to know me. After all, I might soon be traveling with him. I told him I was on the pill. You're doing great, Maxwell said as I kept my hands in sync with hers. Tell me about yourself, Epstein said. I hesitated. Whoever heard of an employer asks an applicant about losing her virginity? Yeah, virginity. Who would ask that? Weird. But I wanted this job, so I took a deep breath and described my rough childhood. I had been abused by my family friend, I said vulgarly, and spent time on the street as a runaway. Epstein didn't recoil. Instead, he made light of it, teasing me for being a naughty girl. Not at all, I said defensively. I am a good girl. I have just always found myself in the wrong places. Epstein lifted his head and smirked at me. It's okay, he said. I like naughty girls. Then he rolled over onto his back, and I was starting to see he had an erection. I seen men's private parts before, obviously, but I hadn't expected to see this. Without thinking, I raised both my hands and holding them up in the air as if I as if to say stop. But when I looked at Maxwell, she remains unfazed, ignoring his aroused penis. But put hands on it. Excuse me. I need glasses because I feel like I'm going blind or I can't see. Sorry, you guys. Ignoring his aroused penis, she put both hands, that's what I want to say, both hands, his right, I can't even pronounce that, his right muscle. I don't know what this word, critical muscles. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly. Excuse me, you guys. And began kneeling like this, she said, continuing as if nothing were amiss. You want you want to push the blood away from the heart. Unsure whether I was right to feel alarm, I again follow her example, putting my hands on the left side of his chest, which was covered in thick gray hair. Moving my fingers in the circles, I couldn't feel Epstein. I could feel Epstein staring at my face, but I refused to meet his glance, focusing instead on what I thought I was here to do. Not in a circle, Maxwell corrected. Don't be afraid to use pressure. Epstein winked at her when he moved his right hand down to his crotch. You don't mind, do you? He asked as he began stroking himself. This is the moment that something cracked inside me. How else to explain why my memories of what came next are splintered into gasping shark gas excuse me splitting into gasping shards. Maxwell peel off her clothes, excuse me, and looked on her face. Maxwell behind me unzipping my skirt and pulling my Mar-a-Lago polo shirt over my head. Epstein and Maxwell laughing at my underwear, which were dotted with tiny hearts. How cute! She's still she's still a little girl. She's still wearing little girl's panties, Epstein said. He reached for an electric vibrator, which he forced between my thighs, as Maxwell commented me to pinch Epstein's nipples as she rubbed her own breasts in mine. A familiar emptiness flowed me. Just minutes before I had arrived at Epstein's mansion, hoping that I was turning a corner, now I knew I was right back where I worked. So hard not to be. How many times had I put my faith in someone only to be hurt and humiliated? But this time, the disappointment was excruciating. I blame myself. Is sex anyone will ever want from me? A voice inside me shrank as another harsher voice clinched. Yes, you idiot. You knew that already. I tasted the tag of an adrenaline in my mouth, and I could feel my brain begin to shut down. My body couldn't escape from this room, but my mind couldn't bear to stay. So it put me on a kind of autopilot, submission, and determined to survive. Pinch him harder, Maxwell said, as as Epstein moaned. So I did. Go down on him, she said. I did that too. Eventually, Maxwell ordered me to saddle Epstein so he could penetrate me. Again, I obeyed. Once he finished, I was told to bring two warm washcloths to clean him up. Then Epstein led the way to the steam room, where he told me to rub his feet. As I did so, kneeling before him, he lectured me about the history of sweat logs and how opening the pores allowed toxins to leave the body. It was important to make healthy decisions, he said, adding, I can teach you so many things. From the first meeting, Epstein wanted me to guard him as a mentor, not a predator. Next, he entered the shower where Maxwell instructed me to wash Epstein with a soap. Again, I obeyed. Epstein told me to shampoo his hair and massage his scalp. I did. She's a keeper, he told Maxwell. And I'm just going to stop there, and and I will continue on if you guys want me to continue on. But this is just, they knew what they were doing. They marked their territory. They just knew. They knew by Virginia telling Maxwell and Epstein her past. They knew they got her where they wanted her, and she even mentioned that in the book. They got her, and you ask yourself, well, why did she go back? Why did she entertain this? Why she just didn't like storm out of the room and just leave? Like she said, her body just froze. This is what she is so familiar with because that's been happening to her such a young age, and she thought that this time this would be different, that she really got a good gig, finding this new job as a masseuse when it all was not even about that. It was all just trying to groom her for these two predators to do their bidding on her. And that's exactly what they did for the next 2 years, as she mentioned in this book. And I'm going to continue on reading this the next time if you guys are interested. There's so much to read. And again, it's just really heartbreaking and sad that she had to endure this and she had to go through all this pain and suffering that happened to her at such a young, tender age, and then when she was 17. And I have to say, I blame the father as well, because the father blamed her. The father was a piece of shit. I'm sorry to say that. I don't know if he's alive or dead, but he's a piece of shit. He failed her, okay? One, by doing what he did, molested her as a young age, then passed her to his friend, okay? Like she was just some piece of trash when she's a human being. She's your daughter. The mother failed her too, in my opinion. Okay, the mother she shouldn't have become a mom. I'm sorry, because to do that to your own child is despicable, and I have no ill will towards her or the father, but they were wrong what they did to Virginia. They were, and in spite of all of that, that girl loved her parents. In spite of everything that happened to her, she still loved her parents. She still wanted love from her parents. She still wanted that attention from her parents. And her parents could not even do that for her, especially her mom. The father couldn't even protect her. She just wanted love. She just wanted love from her parents, or her parents failed her completely and utterly failed her. But that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I have right now. I could go more. I could read more, but I just don't want to go past where I stopped. But this is very interesting to me to read her story and to go into where what she's been through. You know what I mean? From a young teenager to a young child to a teenager to a grown woman when she was still alive, and it's just I I just don't understand how this is okay. You know what I mean? Even though she's telling her story, but I I have no words. You know what I mean? I just don't have any words how people know about this. That's the thing that's just still, and I know I keep repeating myself, but I'm in shock, you guys, that people know about this. Okay, they're aware of what happened to all the survivors, and still nothing. It's still silence. You know what I mean? Just look at her. You know what I mean? Let her rest in peace. Well, not this one. Obviously, look at her, but this is not the one that I want you to. You know what I mean? Like 41 years old, no longer here. This woman was a survivor, an activist, to talk to many women all over the world that if you're going through this, if you're going through sexual abuse, being sex trafficking, raise your voice, talk about it, tell people about it. Don't be ashamed. If you're being sexually abused at your home or you know someone, tell somebody. It is not your fault. You did not cause this. You did not do this. It's someone else that's just very sick, that needs help, that's very demented, that don't deserve to be abused, sexually abused by anyone, whether a family member, a friend, a billionaire, it doesn't matter. And what she was advocating on is to speak up, not to cover it up. You know how long it took her finally to tell people that her husband abused her? She couldn't even mention that at first. You know what I mean? Or let alone her father. And she finally had the courage to do that because she said, enough is enough. I am not going to be a victim anymore. I am not going to be a doormat. I'm not doing that. I am going to speak up and advocate. Enough is enough. And she had enough until her last dying breath. And, I mentioned yesterday, Amy Wallace, the co-author, worked with Virginia for 4 years for this book to happen. And she knows everything. She's a journalist, a reporter, and she knows all Virginia's little dark secret. And she believed Virginia because she did her own investigation to make sure everything that Virginia was saying was fact checked. And that's why the book is out, because what Virginia was saying was true and what Amy Wallace had discovered was actually true. Because she has the tapes, she knows the names. And like I said yesterday, the names are going to come out. It is. It's going to come out, and people are going to get exposed left and right. Whether they are going to be prosecuted or not, but at least everyone's going to know all these men that I mentioned and the men that I mentioned in the book and in depositions and the lawsuits, they're all pedophiles. They're all pedophiles, and they like to have sex with underage girls. So even though there may not be justice for these pedophiles, at least their names are going to be out there. At least people are going to know that these are the high, powerful world leaders who like to have sex with underage girls under Jeffrey Epstein command. So we just got to wait and see. Again, thank you so much, you guys, for joining in live. I know it's late. It's Friday night. People just want to just hang out and chill after having a long work week. So again, I really appreciate each and one of you joining in to my very first book club. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I need to make it better, because I would love to hear your suggestions and your feedback. Tell me if I suck or it was horrible, let me know, and I can tweak things and make it more better and make it more entertaining to you guys. I can deal with criticism because with feedback, it just makes me do it better and learn. And I just want my audience and my viewers to be happy and pleased what I'm doing. So just let me know. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I can take criticism. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. And just be gentle. No, I'm just kidding. But just let me know your feedbacks and what you think. And if you want me to do this again, and I would love for other people to join in and I would love to get other people's perspective as well and their feedbacks if they have read this book or if they got this book again. But you can check it out on Amazon. Nobody's Girls is very, very, very good. It's very powerful in her own words. And like I said, it's a good book for for survivors surviving abuse and fighting for justice. And that's what we all need to do as women, as brothers and sisters, to fight for justice, to fight that this should never happen to any of our children. You know what I mean? That's what we're fighting for. That's what she was fighting for her children and her children's children, because she had a daughter. That's the, you know what I mean? She had a daughter. So she put herself in her daughter's situation if that happened to her daughter. So think about that. We have to advocate for victims. We have to advocate for survivors. Not everyone always lies. You know what I mean? Especially if you have concrete evidence that they were molested, there were sex trafficking, and you have proof to back it up. Why not believe them? Why doubt them? That's why a lot of women do not come forward, because they've been called sluts, whores. They deserve this. Runaways. No one doesn't deserve to be sodomized. No one doesn't deserve to be raped, molested, none of that stuff. No one doesn't deserve that. I don't care how broken home you come from. No one doesn't deserve that. Not an innocent, precious child, period. Her innocence was taken from a young age. And she didn't get the help, the treatment that she needed. This is all she knew. And that's sad to me. That breaks my heart, because if she had a good mother, and a good mom was aware of this, the mother would have kicked that man out, her husband, called the police, pressed charges, got him arrested, and then get the proper help for her daughter. And I believe that her daughter would have got saved, meaning that daughter would have got the proper treatment, therapist, everything that her daughter needed. But the mother didn't care. The mother was very selfish and thought about herself. And that's sad to me. And that does happen too. It does happen in other homes as well, that mothers or fathers, they just neglect to see right in front of them that their own child is being molested by a family member. Which parents should always believe their child. Always. Not even question, not even doubt it. Always believe the child. Because at the end of the day, when you doubt your child and you don't believe them, they're going to get not screwed, but it's going to affect them later on in life. It is. Look what happened to Virginia. It did. It affected her. It affected probably millions of other young children down the line when they got older, because they didn't get the proper help, they didn't get the treatment, and no one didn't believe them at all. But anyway, I keep talking, and I just don't want to hold anyone up on a Friday night. So again, thank you so much for joining in live with me and my very first book club. Let me know again. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I have thick skin. If this was awful, let me know. Let me know what I need to tweak to make it better. So please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much, you guys, and have a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you guys on Monday. I may go live tomorrow just to go live. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but probably something fun and interesting, which I do have something to say tomorrow, because something happened during the week at my job, and I just want to get other people's opinions about it, but that's going to be tomorrow. But have a great weekend, and hopefully I see you guys tomorrow. Take care, and God bless.